thoughts about Makran. Thank you very much for organizing all of this. I know the webinar and all that, GoToMeeting makes it extremely convenient. So thanks very much, and also to STC. I've been planning to do this kind of a webinar for a long time, because ever since I've come here, I've been getting lots and lots of messages on LinkedIn or email messages generally about, how did you go there and how is it like to work there. And as you can see, I mean, from the questions here itself, there were about 25, 26 questions. And I hope to address all of these. And hopefully over the next half an hour or so, a lot of these, problems, questions, issues you have, concerns will be cleared. And as this animation is going, I mean, this is as Ramesh was saying, I do teach technical communications here at George Brown College, and through that I do see a lot of people coming in into the technical writing field for the first time. Some of these people are transitioning from other careers which are completely non-technical writing related, but some of them are just progressing through the certifications. And over here in Canada, continuous education is extremely important. You can't say I've done a degree 10 years back. Hiring managers in interviews actually ask you, so what have you been studying for the last whatever number of years? How have you what are you doing to keep up to the with the trends that are going on? So continuous education is important, and I'm going to touch a little bit on that. But basically, here's the agenda that I want to cover today. I'm going to talk a little bit about coming here, or what are the different streams of coming here, who should not come here specifically right now. There's certain professions, there's certain kind of people that I would advise. If you're in India, you're in the best place right now. India is not going through the economic recession and hardships that a lot of the Western countries are. I'm seeing it here for the first hand, and in fact, I've been downsized and laid off from a lot of my companies because my friends in India have got that job. So the technical writing, especially the technical writing field in India, is massive. It's much bigger than the one here in Canada, but more about that in a bit. I'm going to touch a little bit on the labor market, as I call it here, which is the job market, and I'll go through some things there. The typical application process. A lot of questions I got were related to, so how do we apply? How do we search for jobs? How do companies know we exist? So the application process, and through these I hope to cover a lot of the questions, and some of those that I'm not covering we will definitely go and address. Okay, now if you do have questions, feel free to just jot them down, and we'll have a quick session towards the end. Now if you're coming to Canada, please do come. It's definitely a good place to come and stay for a while if you don't mind the cold, but come with an absolutely open mind. A lot of people, especially coming from India, who come here, say they are full-time job. I have to get a full-time job. There's no such thing as a full-time job here in Canada, and I'll again get more into that. But coming here, and some of the slides you might see something up here about Read Canada Calling, and these are all articles that I have written for Indus, for STC India, about coming here. So this one specifically was published back in 2010, and then I have a couple of others, and they were all about coming to Canada. So there's more reading here, and I'll definitely send a PDF out so you'll have the links. But people generally come here on work permit. Okay, it's an open work permit, which means people first come here on a social visit or a tourist kind of a visa, and they go to the CIC, which is the Canadian the Immigration and Visa Consular section, and they actually apply for a work permit, and they call it an open work permit. So it is not linked like an H1 is linked to a certain company. An open one is not linked to a company in Canada. generally speaking, whoever applies gets it over the counter. It's not a very stringent kind of a processing, although the hesitation people might have with that is, okay, I'm going to Canada, I don't know if I'm going to get a job. You might get a work permit, but getting a job is a different story, right? So the more preferred kind of way, and that's what most people do here, is they come on permanent residence or PR. They're called landed immigrants over here, and the application is not something I'm going to go into because that's out of my stream here, but it's based on a point system. You apply from India, and then after about 1 year processing, just 2 weeks ago, my friend from Pune came here and he told me, you know, it's now come down to 8 to 9 months, so approximately 1 year from the day they received the application. When I applied in 2005, it took me 1.5 years, 2 years. But after that, I had applied from the US, but after that, recently it was taking about 5 to 6 years for people to get that. And then the last step, I mean, most people who come here on PR actually stay here for more than 3 years and they go on to apply for Canadian citizenship, which is what I did. I got my citizenship a couple of years back, 2 years ago. And that's a 6 to 12 month process. So that's about coming here. Again, you can read a little bit about that in my first impressions of Canada when I came here. I came here in September 2009, and I wrote this in about early 2010 or October 2010. Now, I happen to be in a place called the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto Area. It's similar to San Francisco Bay Area, Greater Boston area. So GTA is the Greater Toronto Area. I stay in a place called Mississauga, which is about 30 kilometers west of Toronto. Now, in the GTA, in general, it ranks very high in recruiting for financial and IT sectors. I mean, this is where all the immigrants come. Desi communities is like, if you go out on the street on Mississauga, you will struggle to find a Gora guy. Everyone is practically a Desi. Um, Overall unemployment in the GTA is about 7.3%. There, which is not too bad right now, but it's usually around 4-5%. But with the economic times being the way they are at 7.3. The unemployment in IT is only about 2 point something percent, so it's very low. So IT sectors are definitely doing much better than the manufacturing and other sectors. Now, 53% of the graduates over here have degrees in engineering, computer science, business admin, and IT. So as you can see, they're definitely the more educated people. And that obviously, if you think that most people here are Desis, that tallies pretty well with the 53%. Now, GTA actually comprises of York region, Peel region, Kitchener, Waterloo, which is where Google has its Canadian base, Hamilton and Ottawa. And all of these places have, lots and lots of these kind of jobs. Uh, and just a trivia about Toronto, I mean, 25% of Hollywood films are actually filmed in Toronto. And just the other day, we had a James Bond movie being shot where they had a plane crash and the entire downtown was blocked off. We have the Pearson Airport, and if you've heard of Lake Ontario, which is around 18,000 square kilometers, massive, massive body of water. We do, as I said, have extreme temperatures here. We go right from plus 40 to minus 40 with ice storms, and that's what it looks like. This is a fallen tree, and it's completely frozen up with icicles. This is the famous Toronto skyline with the CN Tower. And you'll see that Mississauga is definitely a big, big hub because it's construction and everything going on all the time. So that's a little bit of GTA, less interesting. Now this is more so. Should I or should I not come to Canada? Again, this is a different article that I wrote. Um, and in if you are involved or if you're in a domain that is business intelligence, business discovery tools, IBM, Microsoft, SAS, um, Informatica, those kind of jobs are plentiful over here. It's a big uh, scope over here. Hotter skills, software developers. Now, a lot of people were asking me, what can I do in India to be successful in Canada? I would say do something like Agile, Scrum Master certification. I did my Scrum just 2 weeks back. I did my exam in Scrum, and I went and showed it to. I work in Ministry of Finance right now, and I showed it to my manager, and he was thrilled because we are actually hiring an Agile coach, and we are completely going towards Agile right now, with Scrum being the most uh, possible likely methodology that we'll be implementing. So those kinds of things definitely help. If you're a technical writer, if you're in technical communications, don't waste your time trying to get certificates or education in technical communication as such. I think job experience is enough, but the IT skills, if you can get PMP, if you can get your Agile, if you can get your um, other Microsoft or Cisco or any kind of technical expertise or certifications, those definitely help big time. Cloud computing, Hadoop, big data, all these are very big in-demand kind of skill sets here as well. Security, network. Now up here you will see that I've said hot commodities. So technical writers, technical trainers, and instructional designers. Definitely lots and lots of demand for this. Um, Now, if I just quickly go over here, this is the kind of jobs. I mean, a lot of people ask me what kind of job sites there are. You can see technical writer, audit and accounting, technical writer. This is for Oracle. Oracle has a huge office here in Mississauga. They're constantly hiring people for all kinds of positions. A technical writer, learning and development administrator. So I'll go a little bit more into detail about this later on. But the couple of fields, unfortunately, right now that you should be avoiding are, if you are in, or if anyone is in manufacturing, automotive, sales and marketing, there are lots and lots of sales and marketing people here. And Canada gives heavy weightage to people already who are Canadian citizens or permanent residents. And then they look at work permit. There is no such thing as hiring from overseas. This is not the US. In the US, you can hire from overseas, sponsor H1, go. That's how I went. I went on an H1 and I had a job when I went to US. That was in 99. So any regulated industry, if you're a dental guy, if you're into MBBS, medical, those kinds of fields are tough to come here and get a job in. But I'll be focusing mainly, as I said, on the technical writing aspects. Now, if you can see here, these are one of the best, or these are some of the best domains, especially for technical writers to be in healthcare. I mean, there's eHealth Ontario, there's Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, there is insurance companies. There are tons and tons and tons of jobs in healthcare insurance, banking and finance. I'm working for a company for the Royal Bank of Canada, one project I'm doing for them, RBC, which has to do with their real estate management and facilities and mortgage and management of their facilities. So um, you know about 40% of the openings here you'll see are in banking. So CIBC, TD, RBC, BMO. These are the three big banks. And BMO, which is the Bank of Montreal, they need 90% of their openings are instructional designers. Most of RBC openings are content writers, and CIBC and TD, which is Toronto Dominion Canada Trust Bank, they mainly hire technical writers for infrastructure data center kind of projects, as well as for branch communications and more frontline teller kind of services, cashier kind of documentation processes. The other big sector here is the public sector. Uh, we call it the OPS over here, which is the Ontario Public Services, um, or Ontario Provincial Services. There you have ministries. So for example, I'm actually working, as I said, with the Ministry of Finance. My two previous projects were with the Ministry of Children and Youth and with Ministry of Justice. So those are very good, lucrative, very high-paying projects because government is typically well-paying, hiring companies. They have ministries and they have what they call here as I and IT clusters, which are information and information technology clusters. So the I and IT clusters actually take care of the IT aspect of whatever the ministry is doing. So their development, case management applications, change management, whatever it is, right? And then you have the CACs, the central agency clusters, which actually are uh, a central agency that take care of a variety of different ministries. So, like if they want to procure some resource, then the CAC would help all ministries procure certain resources. So, obviously, to get into OPS, you need to have some security background clearances, which take a while. So, one thing I would definitely say if you're coming here, you need to have a PCC, which is a police clearance certificate from India, and that has to be within the last 6 months. So if you are coming here anytime soon, get one, but you know it's going to expire, and have a way in which you can get it without going there again. So find someone who can get it for you. But I had to get it done for my first ministry project, and it was hell because I wasn't in Pune, and obviously I won't go into details of what cannot be done if you're not physically there. Um, And then the labor market, obviously, again, I had written another article for hidden job market. I'll go into that a little bit more, but um, in Canada, they say that 80% of the jobs are not posted. 80% of the jobs are hidden, as they say. So when you're looking for a job, you do not look for a job on Workopolis and Monster because even if those ads or those jobs are posted, that doesn't really mean that those jobs are open because most of these hiring is done through word of mouth and through internal referrals and through internal network, which is why this statistic here is so important. 67% of the hiring managers surveyed in Canada said that they prefer to use the social media, namely, most of them use LinkedIn for hiring staff. So either as soon as they get the resume, the first thing they do is search that guy up on LinkedIn. And if the LinkedIn profile isn't good enough, it's very, very likely that that person will be filtered out and replaced by someone whose LinkedIn profile is up to the mark because the hiring manager has more confidence that, what they're saying on the resume actually tallies with what's on the LinkedIn profile. They have recommendations, the dates are matching, all those things. So another thing you can do in India before coming here is start working on your LinkedIn profile. Um, okay, so get it up to the mark. Um, Now, when people start searching in Canada, or when when hiring managers are looking at you, the very first thing they want to see is, are you even authorized to work? So whether you have a work permit or you have a PR or a Canadian citizen, that's good. If you are overseas and you're searching from outside of Canada without any of these, I haven't heard of anyone being hired like that. So I would say don't waste your time applying because even if you're here in Canada and you apply with a resume that does not show a lot of Canadian experience, even then it's very tough to get hired. Forget overseas kind of hiring. Uh, After the authorization to work, the next step that most people look at is Canadian experience. As I said, it's difficult to break in to the Canadian job market if you don't have Canadian experience, and you don't get the Canadian experience if you can't break in. Obviously, so it's a chicken and egg situation. And what happens there is that's where these newcomer services come in handy. A lot of newcomer services, these are everything is funded by the government millions and millions and millions of dollars per year go into newcomer service and settlement services. So they run English language programs and resume writing programs and job search workshops. These are actually, full-time. I went to a job search workshop from 9 to 3 for 12 months, but sorry, 12 weeks. Um, Not that I didn't know English or not that I didn't know how to write and read English, but you know what? It really helps, and that's what I mean by come with an open mind. Um, when I went to that course, even after being in the Bay Area for 6 years, the kinds of things I learned is very local. I mean, the way Canadians do business, the way Canadians talk, the way Canadians' work ethics go, those kind of things you don't really know unless you worked here. So those really help. And what they also offer at the end of the 12 weeks is a co-op, which is you go and volunteer in a place, you work there for a month or 2 months, and in return you get a Canadian experience. Um, and what they get is they get free labor, basically, is being putting it bluntly. So I would recommend people to do the newcomer service program, ELT program for sure, but subtract the co-op component. Don't waste your time doing the co-op. I mean, once you're here, you'll find out more better ways of getting Canadian experience than co-op. But that's another way into the Canadian job market as well. And then after Canadian experience, then people start looking at specific domain security clearances that you have, and over time you will. Now, recently, I got the Ministry of Transport security clearance because I'm working for a project at the Pearson Airport for the GTAA, which is the Greater Toronto Airport Authority, and they need a clearance. My Ministry of Justice needed a different kind of vulnerable check clearance. The Ministry of Finance needed a different kind of clearance. So over time, you start getting all these clearances, and you know what? I'll get to the rates and the dollar figures and all that in a minute. But once you are going into the top part of this pyramid, you're definitely looking at uh, massive amounts of money, basically. Let me put it that way. Okay. Now, to get all of this happening for you in the labor market, the most important part here is the network. I mean, if you don't have your own network, if you don't have lots of people you know, lots of people you are talking to, being in touch with on LinkedIn, face to face, at events, your peers, your managers, your ex-managers, that really counts a lot. I mean, I'll tell you a quick this thing. One of the jobs I got is, someone I'd worked with in the past that I was in touch with called me and said, Smith, one of my colleagues is leaving and his place is opening up. Are you interested? And that was with CIBC, one of the biggest banks here. I said, you bet, I want. And he actually took my resume, gave it straight to the manager. The manager called me, interviewed me. They told me that I would be hired, but it would be 2 months before I can join. The reason being, they said, as a big bank, we have compliance, audit, and all those things that we have to take care of. We have to post an ad. We have to receive resumes. We have to interview people, bogus interviews, reject them because we've already selected you, and then we will give you an offer because we have to go through the motion. I said, fine. After 2 months, they gave me an offer and I rejected it because by that time I got something else happening for me. So but had I not known that person in that position at that time, I would never even have heard of that position, right? So that's what I mean by hidden job market. Now, the application process is pretty, just like logical that you can think. I mean, now here in technical writing specifically or overall, they're mostly contracts. There's no such thing as permanent, although it does exist, but it's pretty rare. If you have 100 jobs, then probably 90 to 95 will be contract, going from 3 months to a year, generally 6 months, renewable. But only about 5 might be full-time positions, and most of those full-time positions are 99% of the time going to be filled by internal candidates, either through lateral move or a hierarchical ladder going up kind of move. So the way ideally you should be doing things here is you read a job ad and you customize your resume. Not a single resume should be not customized, so specific to skills in the job description. Now, sometimes people, I say, if you're an MBA and they don't need it, remove that you're MBA because you're overqualified. And as soon as you're overqualified, you know what happens here? The hiring manager, if he or she thinks that you are going to be better than that person, the obvious is going to happen. They're not going to hire you, right? So everyone wants to secure their own positions, and sometimes people here are not confident. And if that is the hiring manager, then you don't want to show that you are more qualified than that person might be. So I might remove my MBA. I might remove the fact that I am certified. I've done information mapping, and I've done Scrum Master. So I might remove those two because it may not be relevant for that job description, right? Now, obviously, you'll apply through however they've directed, where send hr@email.com or upload your resume to a website and all that. Great, you do that. But that's not where you stop. You be proactive. As I said, some other person might be trying to get an internal network going, and that person will get the call first because someone internally has submitted that person to the hiring manager. So search anyone in the company you might know, and this, I call this the backdoor entry into the company. But um, get that person who's working in the company you applied at to submit your resume directly to the hiring manager. This works. I have tried it, and that's the maximum success rate you will get. Um, when you go to the interview, hopefully you'll be shortlisted, but most of the questions will be behavioral. I mean, if there's a 1 hour question, 1 hour interview, about 30 to 35 minutes will be spent only on behavioral type of questions. They'll give you a situational thing. For example, you're faced with this, how would you react? How would you prioritize? What do you do? They will also ask you why or how are you a good fit. So you should have those kind of questions prepared. And then obviously they'll ask technical questions. So which style guide have you used? What is the difference between this and that? Which would you prefer in this situation, FrameMaker or RoboHelp or Madcap Flare? Um, you know, uh, those kind of questions. Now, the selection criteria will definitely, first of all, your resume. If it really is good, well written, um, then you'll be shortlisted, especially if it's coming through internal referrals. Okay. Um, and then your interview, which will be based on either several rounds. So at CIBC, for example, I had 6 rounds over 4 months. And that's when they hired me. You know what? For what? For a 6-month contract. Crazy. Um, and then the RBC, I had a 15-minute phone screen, and right on the phone they said, Sumit, can you join on Wednesday because we have an urgent meeting that we would like you to attend. So, it can be as crazy as months, or it can be as crazy as a couple of minutes on the phone. That's it. There's usually a panel, but there's not a writer test, there's a writer test. It's a written test, sorry about the typo. So you'll definitely have written tests over here, especially if it's a more junior kind of a role. Okay. Now, for technical writers here, as I said, a lot of people come here to do this course in Seneca because that actually is a full-time 1-year degree course, and that allows you to get a student visa. Once you get a student visa, um, as soon as the course is finished, you actually automatically get a 2-year work permit that allows you to work. After 1 year of work permit, working on that work permit, you become eligible to apply for permanent residency. Now this course is pretty expensive. I think it, goes to like 20-25 lakh rupees, or $10,000-$20,000, $22,000 for a foreign student. The other alternatives, if you're already in Canada or if you're coming with your spouse as a dependent, then George Brown is where I teach. I'm the lead instructor there. We actually teach, we have a 5-module course here, and so George Brown is in class, Seneca is the full-time, and Humber College is another college offering technical certificate, technical writing certificates, but that's online only. Okay. Now, as I said, options, there are some full-time permanent options, though very rare. 99% of technical writers here in the GTA actually go incorporated, which means they open a company like I have. Mine is Crackerjack Wordsmiths. And then you can do multiple projects. And the third is, I neither want to be full-time, nor do I want to get incorporated because of the, money involved in getting licenses and incorporating. People go sole proprietors. And the difference between the three is that there are many tax implications that I won't go into, but the way you can write off and what you can write off totally varies. Now this is a big gap. I mean, when I came here initially, I was at $17 an hour, which was my full-time project. $17 an hour is about $37,000 annual, and that is not enough to survive in Toronto. Okay, but that was a rude awakening because I was the manager technical publications at Persistent with 30, 40, team of 30, 35, 40 writers. And here I am, suddenly I'm an individual contributor. I'm making $17 an hour. Crazy, but within 6 months, it changes. So that is again another instance of why I said you have to come with an open mind. Rates here do go in the excess of 80, 85, $90 per hour, especially if you're with OPS. That is on a contract basis. Generally 35 to 90, again, it's a big gap, but it depends on the kind of company, you know, uh, where you are in Toronto or Mississauga or Hamilton, as well as the level at which you're applying. So 35,000 to 90,000 is the average ballpark kind of a salary range annual. Plus you have lots and lots of benefits. So sick time, medical, this, that, dental, vagara, vagara, सब, right? As I said, mostly contract. Generally, there are individual contributors. There are very few managerial roles that open up because most of those roles are never ever advertised. They just happen to fill them internally 99% of the time. I've so far seen only 2 roles in the past 6 years I've been here. I've actually seen only 2 or maybe 3 roles that were actually manager title. Everything else, you have lots and lots of senior lead writers, lead trainers. Again, all of these will be mostly contract. Now, in terms of tax, that really kills you because, you think $80 an hour is a truckload of money, and it is. You're making, 80 per hour is like $150,000 annual. But guess what? You're paying almost 43% tax because 75 to $80 an hour is almost the highest tax bracket, right? So you're paying about 43% tax. If you're making around 65,000 a year, just to give you an idea, your net take home is going to be 40, which means about 22,000 you're paying in taxes and in CPP or pension plan and employment insurance. So it sounds good, and please don't change it to rupees because your eyes will glaze over, but you're paying in dollars here. So $65,000 you're making, but you're actually only getting 40,000. Now, majority of the work is routine stuff, content writing, e-learning, user manuals, training manuals. There's a lot of demand for RFP kind of, proposal writers, contract writers, RFP, RFBs, the request for proposal, request for information, request for service, request for bids. So all the RFP process. Uh, because insurance and banking sectors use information mapping as their methodology, there is a lot of scope. So if you can do information mapping kind of a certificate, definitely it's very, very helpful on the resume. Data API structured is is there, but it's not the majority of the work. I mean, you might see 5 to 10, 15, 20% of the work involving data and APIs and structured authoring, although most of it is going to be your routine, unstructured kind of non-data kind of thing, maybe with information mapping blending in here and there. How are we doing on time, Ramesh? Do we have
Sumit, we are doing good. We have about 15 minutes more. One quick
cool?
question. You mentioned about dollars, so this is a Canadian dollar, right? It's not a US
This
dollar.
is Canadian, yeah. Yeah, good point. Thanks for pointing that out. And unfortunately, Canadian dollar has fallen. I mean, when I came here, one CAD was, about 59, 60 rupees. Right now, it's about 50 rupees. Canadian dollar was actually stronger than US dollar. So one Canadian dollar used to give us $1.10 US. Now Canadian is 77 cents to a US. So it's definitely fallen, taken a tumble. Um, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, you're staying here, you're earning here, and yeah, that is Canadian. Now, as people were saying, in the questions, what are some sites? So Indeed.ca, Eluta.ca, again, monster. If you just add the .ca domain, you should see the Canadian sites. But these are okay, and they have a much better strike rate in the US and India. But यहाँ पे in Canada, forget the job sites, because as I said, if only 20% of the jobs are going to be posted and half of them are going to be filled internally anyway, what's the point of wasting your time going to these job sites? You have to be networking, and the best way to be networking is LinkedIn. Now, I started working on LinkedIn about 1 to 1.5 years after I came here, so in about late 2010, early 2011. And since 2013, so the last 2 years, 100% of my projects are coming through LinkedIn. Now that doesn't mean I don't work with recruiters, but mostly recruiters itself, they call me on LinkedIn. They find me on LinkedIn and they call me through LinkedIn. So as I said, if you want to do something for yourself before you come here to prepare, start working on your LinkedIn site and you know contact me offline. I'll give you some idea on kinds of things you should be looking at. Just but that's that about specifically about technical writers. Now, are you a good fit? Now, it matters to think, a lot of people when I came here, people say, why did you go to Canada? I don't know. I just came here on a hunch. I just said, enough of US, bore ho gaya abhi. Green card, I wasn't getting it. There was nowhere in sight. So I said, forget it. I'll apply for Canadian PR. When I was in Singapore, I was a Singaporean permanent resident, but I didn't carry that forward. Once I came to US, I got Canadian PR. So now I came here and you see a lot of things coming here that you didn't realize how they were or what to expect when you are not in Canada. So it's not all bed of roses. It's not any old Western country. That's true, but it's very, very tough to settle and get your life together over here. It's very fast. So if you love the Bombay life, you love the Toronto life. You get up 6 in the morning, you come home 7, 8 in the evening, and I am a more laid back Marathi, typical Nene, Sadashupet, Aramat. But for me, it was like, oh my God, just run, 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 run all the time. So if you're not afraid of trying out new things, now a lot of people come here who were in marketing, who were in IT, who were in that. Now they are real estate agents. Now they are mortgage agents. Now they are doing something totally unrelated. So I came here, I started doing technical writing, but then I moved to technical training. Now I've moved on to PR. So I do a lot of that, but I also do press releases and those kind of things. I also did my realtor license. So if I wanted to go and start doing real estate, I can do that. But that is for as a backup, my hobby. Um, Many people have come here as PMP and Agile this and Agile that certified, ITIL वगैरह सब. What are they doing? They are selling homes. They are selling mortgages. They are selling insurance. They're selling car insurance, life insurance. Not because there was nothing else they could do, because they thought, hey, there's good money in this. I like numbers. Let me do this. So they did a quick course and they're doing that. So don't be afraid of trying out new things. Um, if you've been a full timer, all your life, then be open to being a consultant all your life now. There is definitely going to be periods where, one project ends and the second one is nowhere in sight and you're sitting home for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, sometimes 2 months. But, you know, that's that. At least start where you are getting a job and go with it. But as I said, there was a student in George Brown, and he used to work desktop support and all that, and said, Sumit, please help me get out of this. He did my course and all that, and he was a full time. He made about $14, $15 an hour. I said, Jeremy, here's a job. I think you should apply for it. It's a 6-month contract, but go for it. Take my word for it. He said, no, 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 Sumit, I can't leave a full-time job for a 6-month contract. I said, trust me, go. He went, he took the job. That job paid him $40, so he jumped from $15 to $40 an hour. That job allowed him to work from home, so he wasn't commuting deadly times, like 2 hours a day and all that. Thirdly, what happened is his project after 6 months got extended by 6 months 2 times, so he's been there 1.5 years. Later, they offered him a full-time position, and he took it. And I said, Jeremy, see, this is what I was telling you. And that's exactly what happened. So don't be afraid to jump in as a consultant. I actually left my full-time job, the only full-time job I had in Canada, and I left it, and I've never, 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 ever considered taking a full-time job because you don't need to, basically. Um, Ready to take on any work to get started. As I said, I started at $17 an hour. But that basically the way you look at it is, hey, I'm getting paid to look for a better job, you know. So think of it in a positive manner, and you'll do great. You should be ready to embrace the new culture. The culture here, oh God, I should really watch for my typos. Sorry about that. I did this in the afternoon today. You know, I wasn't sure I was going to have a presentation and it didn't feel right, so I put this together in a hurry. So culture meaning, there's lots and lots of different activities that go on here, right? You might have seen today on Times of India, they had published the biggest South Asian event took place in Toronto last week, last weekend. Um, you know, so there's lots of street activity going on, barbecues, open barbecues, grand annual yoga day. We had 500 people doing yoga in that square in Mississauga. So these kind of things really help uh, to go and attend, willing to help others and network. So the first thing that I always see in people who come new to Canada, especially from South Asia, I would also say India, is they're focusing on themselves. Can I get a job? Do you have a job? No, that's not how people work here. They focus more on you. What do you do? How can I help you succeed, right? So when you start focusing on others, it's a bit difficult because you're looking for a job, you're in a new city, you're in a new country, and I'm saying don't focus on yourself, focus on others, because that's where you get the maximum traction with people here. So when I go and offer my expertise in something, free of cost, volunteer, that's when they actually call me when there's actual opening, because I volunteered, they know me, we have a personal connection, we have built a rapport, rather than if I would have sent a resume saying, hey, call me if you have a job, they're never going to call me like that. So it's a different kind of, oh man, another type of committed. So committed to continuous learning again. Um, keep doing some certificate courses, over here, local education is a big plus. If you say I am XYZ from India and I'm XYZ from Toronto, that XYZ may still be PMP, it still be SCM, Scrum Master certified. It's fine. It's the same designation, it's the same certification, but if you've done it from here, you're going to have that extra weightage on it, right? And obviously, are you a good fit? Yes, if you have an open mind, you love the code, and you have a consultant mentality. So a lot of job descriptions here, even if it's full-time job, they will say you should have a consultant mentality, which means you don't want to be told what to do. You go in, you assess the situation, you give your feedback, you consult with them and say, here's what you should be doing, and you know guide them into how to do things best. That will make you a good fit. Okay, so that is basically my presentation. What I want to do next is just go through a couple of I'm going to go through one resume just to show you what people expect here. But any questions on what I've said so far?
Ask your question.
Is it required that, okay, then?
Sumit, we have
Sorry,
got Shraddha who has
speak.
got a question.
Yeah,
Hi,
speak
Sumit.
up a little.
So
Hi.
this one question.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
Sumit, is this important that a technical writer working in India needs to have an engineer's degree only?
No, 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 not at all. I'm a BA.
Okay.
I'm a BA from Osmania. Okay.
Oh,
And that's the basis on which I got my permanent residency, and that's where I'm getting all my jobs. So if you have an engineering degree, it's not that it's going to hurt you, it'll definitely help you because you can do the more technical things more easily,
okay.
but
Um,
it's not a requirement.
Okay. Sumit, I have one more question, which is at the end you were saying that if you have a local education, that is education from Canada, that will help you rather than having your education in Canada. However, if I do an online course from a Canadian university, will that help me?
Canadian university, it will definitely help you because it's a Canadian university.
Mm-hmm.
But then they might ask you, okay, you've done an online course, so where were you when you did it, right? So
Okay.
definitely Canadian university will help you even though it's online, no doubt about it. But being locally and going locally to do a course will help you even more
Okay.
because they know, see, understand their thinking, the hiring manager's thinking. When you're sitting in your home and doing an online course from a Canadian, they're not actually looking for the Canadian brand of the degree. What they're looking is your behavioral skills, your interaction, your communication skills with locals over here, which is what you'll be interacting with when you're working with your peers in a corporate situation in Canada, right? So that's really what they're trying to get at, that do you have do you have the communication skills? Can they put you in front of their client without being scared that, how would you react? How would you behave with them? So that's the only concern they have.
Sumit, one quick question and then maybe you can go to the resume that you wanted to show because Ramesh is signaling we are running out of time here.
Okay.
So one quick question is, do I need to know French or will it change things for me if I do know French?
No, I don't know French and I'm not suffering because of that. If you know French, out of 100 jobs, you might miss the 3. So if you knew French, you might have been able to apply for 98. Now I'm able to apply for 95.
Okay, I thought you were going to say now I'm able to apply for two.
No, see, in anywhere outside of Quebec and Montreal, and to an extent in Ottawa, which is the capital, and that's where all the feds are, right? All the federal government is in Ottawa. French everywhere else is almost non-existent.
Okay.
So
So can we switch to the resume that you wanted to show and then I think we'll have to wrap this
yeah,
session.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, one thing definitely is for a technical writer, try to use the proper tabs. So having spaces to go to the right and left, that doesn't really show that you have formatting skills in Word. I tend to not have objective on my resume because objective is very personal. Whereas here, people want to know what can you do for us, not what the company can do for me, right? So great, you are equipped with 6 years of experience. Yeah, I'm challenging position, great. But none of this really helps me to hire you, right? It doesn't make you stand out. Um, um, so this total thing is 5 pages, and see the way you look at it, a lot of people are going to look at it and say underline, 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 underline. You know, there is no nothing that shows that this guy has a lot of word skills or skills in formatting. Now, I'm just because of time thing. I mean, if you look at this, this is the resume. I think I went through about 300 iterations of resumes after I came here before I settled on this one. So now I know that this resume is working for me, but I went through those. You know, I had about literally have 300 resumes that I've done before I said this one is working. So strong points, summary, just a very brief summary of you do your deliverables, competencies, tools and standards. So if you know a particular tool, you know, definitely add them here. Education you definitely want, and especially if you have stuff that you have done in Canada, as I said, mention it. And then it goes into the actual job and prospects. Now here, you know, people are not very hell-bent on 2 pages, and if you have more than that, you know, it won't work. People here, hiring managers here actually want to know what tools you have used, what domain you were in, um, and other technologies and, you know, staff and number of people, and did you achieve something? Those kind of things are more important. So they don't mind looking at a resume 3-4 pages long. Um, as long as it really gives all the details that they want to know, right? Because this really then makes it attractive enough for them to call you and ask you further questions. Okay, so that, you know, that's a very quick rundown. But if you again have any questions on resume, then, you know, feel free to email me. My email is on my LinkedIn profile very prominently, so I won't repeat here, but you can feel free to email me or message me through LinkedIn. And if anyone is planning to come here, all the best, and hopefully, you know, contact me when you're here.
Sumit, we have noted your email ID from your resume that you are showing right now. Is that correct? Sumit.techwriter@gmail.
That's my permanent email ID. Yeah, sumit.techwriter@gmail.com.
Okay, so we have noted that and we have passed it on to the participants.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. So over to Ramesh.
Uh, Thank you very much, Sumit. It was a great pleasure having you here for the webinar. And I'm sure a lot of people who are considering moving to Canada already know what needs to be done, especially the labor market, the job prospects, the interview process, and so on. So thank you very much for the very useful and insightful webinar. I really appreciate that you stayed awake to give this presentation. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning now, so I'm going to bed. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks a lot, Sumit.
All right, Sumit. So this is a message to all the folks who have joined us online. I see 16 of you. So thank you all very much for joining us today. And I'm recording this session. I will work on the recording and I'll try to post it on the STC India website very soon. So thanks a lot for joining us. And I'm going to email Sumit's email ID. I'm going to message Sumit's email ID so that in case you have not noted, you can do that now, and you can feel free to contact him with your questions as he rightly mentioned. So that's it from us. guys today, and for the people who are in classroom here will continue the session, but the webinar concludes. Thank you very much for joining us again. Bye bye.